Hi guys, Pink here. This is episode 5 of Hardercore. Okay, so what we're going to do this episode, we are going to try to get into orbit around Kerbin. We have, I did do 2 science buggy missions and filled out the rest of tier 3 here. So we have all of tier 3, so we should have no issue getting into orbit, he says, on the second go around. So let's see what we got. We've got a new microphone setup, so hopefully the sound is going to be a little better as well. Okay, so we have the new Probodobodine cube, so we'll use that. Doesn't have a great deal more benefit than the Staputnik, other than it has an SAS. It has the stability. This one has nothing. This has stability assist. It doesn't have reaction wheels. It's gonna turn us or anything. And I have, in any case, I have mandatory RCS mod, which reminds me, let's stick some RCS on this thing so that we can have some spinability. I'm going to knock the propellant all the way down to 4%, or 4, since we don't need to be lugging all of that fuel up with us, or monopropellant, when we're not gonna need it. So we need a Spacely engine. This is a gimbaling engine. So this will provide our satellite, the satellite stage. We're going to need to put a booster on it because we've only got 2,000 delta V here. We will need a Communitron. We're going to go with this one. Stick that right on top, and I'm going to stick 2 batteries on it. And I'm going to put some photovoltaic panels on there, so we'll have some recharging ability, because this thing is not just going to sit up there. I mean, that's kind of a waste. So what we're going to do is make it part of our satellite network. And do we need anything else on it? Oh, we need our RCS. So we can put those, say, right here. And that will give us some ability to steer. Although we do have a gimbaling engine, this will give us some ability to steer without using the engine, which we will do when we're trying to position prograde for circularization, for instance. All right, I am using RCS build aid, which, as you can see, it shows that with the thrusters put up here, it gives us plenty of torque for turning. Now, a while ago, when I started using this again after a hiatus, I very conscientiously put these in here and lined them all up and said, okay, that's good. We got to make it all nice and center mass. And then I was going to launch. I said, oh wait, I'm not going to have this amount of fuel here. Let's take it down to right there and then see where we're at. And anyway, I shifted it around back to where it needed to be to get complete center mass. And then I got the thing up in orbit, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't steer. And I thought it was my script. And it took me quite a while before it finally clicked that I had just spent all that time ensuring that it couldn't steer, and then wondering why it couldn't steer. So, anywho, there is our satellite. For a booster, let us, oh, we'll need a decoupler first, which is a 6th, and we use this adapter and say 2 of these. Whoops. Okay, so we need our engines that we have here are small, so a single engine is not going to get us enough thrust weight ratio. So we're going to have to do a multiple engine stage here. Let's see, those both go up there. And there's two ways to do this, depending on whether or not you have making history installed or not. Now, making history gives these engine plates. This EP18 is from making history, and the EP12 is from missing history, which is a mod that adds the parts that should be in but aren't. So that gives us this engine plate. So we can go in here, change the cluster nodes to say a quad, and then we could grab our space lays here and put 4 on like that, and that gives us plenty of thrust weight ratio. We got well, we're a little light in the delta V department, so we'd need more fuel. Let's try this. Hello, come on. There we go. 1.6. So this thing could get into orbit. And if you don't have this plate because you don't have making history, I believe there's other mods that add engine plates, but I'm not sure off the top of my head what they might be. You could also make it using structural parts. Grab the little cubic thing here, and then you can just say however many you want. Let's see if let's get this guy a little higher. There we go. Let me zoom in. There we go. Yeah. And then just say put those there, and then you can come in and put your engines on those. And if you don't really care for them scooting out there, just use the move tool. And just, well, that's not really what I wanted to do. I guess that's right. Let's disable that. Then we can kind of scoosh them in a bit. And that'll get you the same effect as if you had the other mod installed, or the expansion rather. But I have the expansion installed, so that's what I'm going to use. So there's the engine plate, and this has a decoupler integral to it, and what that allows you to do is actually have this be a stage. Well, obviously you'd have an engine in there, but then you can change the the stage length as such to whatever makes the most sense. But what I'm going to do is disable that staging because I don't have a whoops. Disable staging. All right. Oh, it's still there. The attachment point is still there, but it goes away over here. Okay, gotcha. Figured it out. I don't need this. So we'll put this back on quad and grab our gimbaling engines and bring this guy back down. What are we looking like for parts now? 26, so we're starting to hit our part limit here. Let's grab some fins. We shouldn't need, since these are gimbaling engines, we really probably don't need the fins. But I'm going to put them on. So there's our fins. And launch stability thingy. There we are. A little high, bring it down. All right. See if there's anything we forgot. Decoupler attached wrong. Which one is attached wrong? The decoupler is attached the wrong way. The decoupler casing will, oh, okay, that's if you're using the engine plate as a decoupler, which we're not. So we could also try to recover the stage using stage recovery mod, which is installed. We'd have to put some parachutes on it. But as you can see, we've hit our part limit now. So that's something you're going to run into with this mod sooner than with stock, because it restricts you to the smaller parts, so you're going to end up having to use more parts. And to balance that out, I have a CustomBarnKit config that swaps the upgrade costs of the launch pad and the VAB, so that you get the part count goes up first, and then you'll get your weight limit up as the second upgrade, or the first upgrade for the launch pad actually. All right, we're going to call this guy ComSat Alpha. We don't want to use test on this guy because then I don't want to have a craft that's sitting out there in orbit that's supposed to be used for something that's called test 1. So that's why we've done that. All right, I think we're gonna, let's look at atmospheric. It's a little low, but we should be okay. Okay, so let's take a look. We saved this. Let's take a look at the let's take a look at our mission script here for ComSat A. All we're going to do is ascent on this guy, and that means we're going to use the defaults that we have set up in the ascent script itself, which is this one. I believe we covered that last time. So we're going to go with a 90-degree heading and 100K apoapsis, or orbit actually. I did make some changes here. We had this RCS stuff kind of scattered in amongst the rest of it. It was turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off. Well, I've made 2 little conditions here that are just as part of the loop. It's gonna hit these every time through the loop. And I've made a new variable called RCS on. That's a Boolean, just local RCS. And I have another function here in control. We'll take a look here, called align. And what this does, you put in a degrees. It's got 2 factors to it. One is the heading and one is the pitch, because it's a direction. And you put that in there because here's our heading work. You know, heading is both a pitch and a direction. So we put that in there, and it will check against our current, what the ship is currently doing, against the target we put in, and return the difference between them in degrees. And so what I can say here is if we don't have the RCS on and we're 3 degrees or more off of what we're supposed to be, we'll turn the RCS on to get us back on course. And we'll set this variable to true, and we will notify on the screen that RCS is on. And then when we're back within 0.5 of our assigned heading, we'll turn the RCS back off, and we'll set this flag to false so that we're not going to sit there and go through them unnecessarily. And it's just, it kind of works like a trigger, except, in fact, I had originally thought to make it a trigger, but there's no need to when we're just hitting it every time anyway. So that is where we are at with our attempt to get into orbit. So this is, as far as this goes, this is attempt number 1. I believe I'm on attempt number 4 or 5 otherwise. So I had some technical difficulties. So we'll launch. Let's see what we're looking at for a reliability. Pour on the RCS fuel tank. You know what? We got plenty of delta V to that's a little high. Keep it above there. Let's bring it down to there, just in case we spring a leak. Although, if that's the case, I have to cancel that and then build it again because we changed it. Okay. All right. And then after this, we will be able to get the mission to do an orbit and recovery, and that will give us the opportunity to look at the recovery script. All right. So we'll warp to complete. Where are we at? We're looking at our next funding. Our funding went down, I believe, from what it was, because we did not, in all of my screwing around and my fail cascade, I went through, I believe, from 80 to 120. So what's that, 40 days? So I went through at least one monthly budget period where I did not gain any more reputation. So I just had the decay, 10% of it every month that we went through there. So, but we're looking at getting a well, fairly decent budget, but it's a little lower now. I did have it at 50% when we went into the big project fund. Oh, so we must have gone through two budget periods because I got 116,000 in there now. So we'll put that at 25,000. I need 150,000 to upgrade this in order to give us the 30 parts. See, here's how I've swapped these two around. If we go over here, whoops, we don't want to do that. I gotta close this, okay. If we go over here, see this now has the size limit, the weight and the size. All right, so let's roll this out. And that CustomBarnKit config is part of the Unkerbaled Start mod, and you can choose to use it or not, depending on what's your preferences. All right, let's warp to morning. Thump. All right, now see, now it stops at dawn because I am using the early bird mod. Okay, let's give it a shot here. All right, and I've got this thing opening via the script now. It's in the boot script that it opens to here. Makes it a little handier. All right, and there we go. You see how it ignites the engines before it hits stage, so we kind of get that effect. There's our new achievement, our most complex vessel launch. And here we can see in Ascent, I've also put another value here, a couple other values. One is the actual pitch that we're at, and on the left here we have target pitch. This is what we're hoping, or we're trying to get the craft to do, and this is what it's actually doing. I've also added up here the connection status to KSC, whether or not we have a connection or not, because that was one of the things that was tripping me up. Took me a while to figure it out. Whenever I was trying to get into the orbit and I got out of a line of sight of the KSC, my throttle would drop to 0 and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So that was part of the fail that I am sparing you. All right, so we're doing our pitch over. This one, I believe our last one we did, we tried to go straight up and it went more or less straight up. This one we're actually doing the pitch over. We just went through the PID controller here where it was keeping the speed below 200 while we were under 8,000. And now we're going to bring our time to periapsis up to 60 seconds, and then we're going to throttle back. Now, I'm not really sure that that's the way to be doing it. I don't recall why I put that in. Again, this has been 2 or 3 years ago that I did this. I believe I read somewhere some description of how to do a gravity turn. Various descriptions that people had given, not a scripted way, but just how you're supposed to naturally launch things. And I somehow found something that said keep your apoapsis at your ETA out at 60, and that you should be pitched at 45 degrees at 30,000 meters. So that's kind of what's the basis for this. But all of those are in the parameters, and they can be adjusted for all kinds of different ascents. All right. Things are looking good. We haven't had any part failures. On one of my fails, I had one of the gimbling engines fail, and it exploded, and then that caused the drop in the maximum thrust, which triggered the stage, and that happened, you know, with like 5 seconds after launch or something like that, so that was fun. All right, we're pitching down to 12 now. You can see we're lined up real good on it, so the RCS has not engaged at all. Approaching, well, apoapsis is going to be up to 100K, so we're approaching a out of atmosphere apoapsis. We should be staging here very soon. Here we go. There was that 1 second delay in staging, so moving along. And had the Unity garbage cleanup happen just right at the same time, so that's what that hesitation there was. I am using a mod called memgraph that you can use to change the parameters that the garbage cleanup thing does so that your interval of garbage cleanup happens less frequently. If you have the memory for it, you basically assign a memory buffer, and I think I've got it set to 8 gig or something. Right. And there we just stopped. Oh, RCS came on for a bit there, as it's trying to line us back up. See, we're supposed to be at 0, and we're currently pitching at 5, so it's messing with us there. Okay, so now we have also a Kerbal alarm clock. Alarm was triggered by the script, so we can safely time warp. There's that thing flipping all over everywhere. That's why we're going to want to have some 90 seconds, I believe it was, to before burn is when this alarm is, to give it time to get itself back where it's supposed to be. Are we doing it? What are we doing? Why is it spitting out each side at the same time? I don't think that's supposed to do that. That kind of defeats the purpose. I wonder how I screwed that up, and more importantly, how I fix it. What do we got going? Okay, our stage was destroyed. That was worth 3,500. And we could have put some parachutes on it, but we didn't have part count to spare. So, I wonder why this is doing that. I guess it is. Is it moving? Or is that just the planet moving underneath it? Oh, there we go. Huh. I wonder what that was all about. Weird. But it worked, right? And then it turned the RCS off. So, hey, even if it was weird in the interim, it comes on and corrects. This is relatively new that I had come up with, so I'm kind of got a bit of a smile on my face right now that it's working. That's always a plus when something you do works. And we should, there we go. There's our circular eyes. And I actually added some orbital information here from the Engineer Redux. And there we go. And it's not perfect, but look at that eccentricity, 0.001. That's pretty damn good. Inclination, not too shabby. But there we go. There is our orbit. So we have an achievement, heaviest vessel to orbit. First orbit of Kerbin. We have entered orbit. There's a 4 reputation gain and new strategies available, Minimus probes and moon probes. And oh, what's our guy here we gotta do? Orbit around Kerbin. We have to keep this for 40 minutes. Okay, we can do that easily enough. We can close this now. Yeah, all right. Go to the map, I think, we can do this. Not really a map, is it? It's just a, oh, look at that. Looks really cool. That nebula, it's one of, I forget who made that one. It's a mod. It's in the mod list, whatever that calm nebula is. And who. So now if we needed to upload a new script or something, say it screwed the script up again or something like that, what we would have to do, we would build the script and whatever and get it staged in the mission lib with update whatever, and then as soon as he comes around again and got into a connection, we could go and turn his CPU on and off, and then that would let him rebuild it. 34, holy cow. Massive scale launches. Okay, so now, where are we at? Down here. 214,000. Money's not really a problem right now. Okay, so that was pretty cool. Now we are done with this particular one. Go back to the Space Center. Okay, so my plan at this point was to come in here, build this do a little bit of modifications to put to get this thing back into orbit and bring it back down to Kerbin. but I kind of outsmarted myself. Thermal. We don't have a heat shield yet. So back to here. One of the more bastardly things that I did when I made this tech tree is I moved the first heat shield from survivability up into enhanced survivability. So we have the ability to get things into orbit now, but we don't have the ability to recover them from orbit. So we need to come up with 45 more science points before we are able to do our recovery mission. I did grab the orbit and recovery contract, but we can't do that yet. So we've got to figure out something to get more points. I'll see if I can do some space buggy missions. I keep saying that. Science buggy missions. If not, we're going to have to do some atmospheric science or dropping a capsule, not a capsule, but dropping a craft down on some of the other biomes so that we can collect some science. And that may take a few missions. So I think, given that we're already probably at 25 to 30 minutes here, I'm going to call this episode to a close and stop and think about it for a while and see how much of it I should record and how much of it I shouldn't. So I think at this point we're gonna have to call this episode done. So thanks for watching. See you next time.